Senior Day, it's a changing tradition now because you don't get what you used to get in terms of guys that have been here 4 or 5 years or whatever. But as a coach, what does Senior Day mean to you, getting to see these guys kind of walk and do that stuff?
Yeah, and I think you'll still get that. It just be less often. And when you do get a 4 or 5 year guy, I think that's something that is even more special now. And I think we all have to celebrate that. But I think it's an opportunity to recognize guys that'll put the jersey on for the last time and in this arena and celebrate the end of a college career. So I think there still is value and meaning to it. And we'll still take it very seriously and honor those guys. But it's probably different than it was 15, 20 years ago, right, where the standard was that everybody, with very few exception, was in college for 4 or 5 years when they celebrated Cena, because the guys that weren't usually were guys that left early to go to the NBA.
What were your takeaways from the Houston loss? Obviously, another single-digit outing. You guys fought hard with them again, but just short once again this year.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed in our guys' play. I thought we played with a lot of fight and a lot of edge. I thought we were prepared. I thought the guys played aggressively. The 6 turnovers in the first half between Dan and Seamas, if I'm being picky, that was a negative, but they were aggressive They weren't like casual turnovers. They were aggressive turnovers. So I thought, other than that, we took care of the ball against a team that generates turnovers at a high level pretty well. I thought we out-rebounded them. I thought there was a lot of really good stuff. Day-Day's foul trouble was really frustrating. Not because I felt like Day-Day played with a lack of discipline or committed silly fouls, because it didn't feel, like he should be in foul trouble, and it certainly didn't feel like that after watching the tape. So I thought that was breaking them down is really important, and we're plus 11 in Day-Day's minutes. So that was, I thought that had an effect on the game being a closer game in the last possession or two. But, those are my thoughts. I think we got to regroup, and we're disappointed with the outcome for sure. So we got to regroup and get ready for another big game.
I think last year for Senior Day, you said if a player has any eligibility left, he's not walking. Is that the plan again this year?
Yeah, I think as things continue to evolve, we'll continue to adjust. My feelings on the nature of our sport, or the norms in our sport, change at such a rapid level now. We'll adjust when it makes sense. But yeah, like Day-Day and Connor will not be out there tomorrow, because the hope is that they'll be back in fifth, third, playing basketball again. Again, we're not going to get into the semantics because it's different than the old days. I think they both want to be back here, but there's a lot more that goes into for both of them. I mean, Connor's got to work through a waiver, and so we're not going to get into all that right now. Because we got to focus on winning games. But that is why they will not be out there celebrating, because there's basketball left for those guys to play.
If this is the last time you see Seamas or Aziz play, just your thoughts on having them as Bearcats?
Well, I hope I see them play.
Beyond
in fifth, third,
Wednesday.
In fifth, third.
Oh, right. You're right.
Yeah, okay. I was like, this isn't the last game of the year, at least. Unless you know about some global pandemic that's going to break out again. I'm like, oh, Scott's on the beat, man. He might know something going on in another country.
If I knew anything, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah. No, I think that the transition from the American to the Big 12 has been a awesome transition. It's been awesome. I think this department, this university, this community belongs in a power league, And so, but it's been a real transition for every sport here and for the whole department. And I think of guys like Seamoss and Aziz, as guys that have been crucial to our ability to manage the transition, And I think sometimes people don't realize how significant of a jump it is from the American to the Big 12. And, certainly like up to this point, there's some results we're disappointed in, but there's some stuff that's been pretty good too. And it certainly could have been a lot worse. And it's not been worse because of guys like Seamoss and Aziz. And they've been able to walk through the door and compete at that level night in and night out. And that's been incredibly important up to now. And the neat thing is, and I always say this with senior night, you can't do too much reflecting because we're not done yet. So you appreciate them, you honor them, you do the more of the reflecting when the season ends. But those guys have meant a lot to this program and this university.
Did you cry on your senior night?
I can't remember, quite frankly.
You did.
Did you there a video of it out there?
I'm just saying, if you don't remember, you did.
Okay, I probably did. We spoke, and it was a different age, different time, but we would stay after. There was a tradition, and you'd speak, and I remember speaking, but I'm sure that I did. Yeah, I don't remember.
Kansas State, how Coleman Hawkins hasn't played in their last couple games, unknown whether he'll be available tomorrow night or not. How different are they with him out of the lineup, because he's a guy that impacts so many different areas of the game?
Very different. Maybe not in scheme and style of play, but just he's such a unique player. He's one of the most unique players in college basketball. I mean, feels like he's 7 foot in person. He's got tremendous positional size and length, and he's an incredible passer and facilitator. And they do a lot of really, really interesting things to put him in passing and playmaking situations. Whether it's through the post or out on the floor. And I think that their whole team benefits from that. And then obviously he pushes it in transition at 7 feet. He can play tons of different positions. If you look at positions traditionally, he can guard tons of different positions. I haven't looked at his analytics recently, but he's one of the leading steal guys in college basketball. Is he still like 1 or 2 in the country? Maybe positionally he is. But he's got unbelievable active hands, and they're different because he's an elite player, and they play through him a lot. So without him, that they've been a little different. I would imagine that Jerome would say the same thing if you asked him. But we expect him to play. We expect him to play. We're going to prepare for him to play.
David Gasson leading the conference with a 62% field goal percentage. What does he do so well on the inside, obviously, to put centers and opposing big men in tough spots offensively?
He runs the rim really well first. So you think about field goal, he gets a lot of easy baskets, and I think that's one way people shoot a really good percentage like that. But he gets a lot because he runs really hard. He's fast, and he's a good catch and finisher in transition. He's a great cutter. Like, he's obviously a lob threat and rim threat, and he's developed his game. I mean, I remember him back at the Virginia Tech days. Like, he's developed his game into a guy that can put the ball on the deck. I mean, he pushes it in transition for them. They're a really dangerous transition team because all 5 guys can push the ball up the court. So he's become a more versatile offensive player throughout his career, but the athleticism, scoring around the basket, and then he does a lot of little things to get easy baskets. But he's a very good player, a very good rebounder, offensive rebounder, the whole nine.
The 2 CJs, Anthony, you're going to try to get a red shirt, I understand, or try to help him.
we haven't.
And then also, CJ Frederick, what's his status? Can he play?
Yeah, so we haven't put CJ Anthony in a game this year, if people are paying attention, and that's for the right reasons. And sometimes, guys, it hasn't been easy because you guys are at practice, and he's turned into a damn good player and a guy that we've contemplated like putting in the game, and when it matters, and that's a credit to him. But he's a Division I player, a scholarship player. I think he's a guy that at the right fit could start and be a really, really impactful player. He's a rotation player dang near anywhere. But when he was coming, we talked at the end of last spring about his position. One of the things that I proposed to him, and I think he really appreciated, was why don't you come back and finish at Cincinnati your 4 years? Because he loves Cincinnati. He's from Columbus. He cares deeply about our program and being a part of our program, and he's impacted our program a lot. So we talked about that, but what I didn't want to do, because he's a guy that can play for a lot of people in a lot of places, is I didn't want to just, if we weren't going to have him in our rotation, I told him we'd redshirt him and that we'd make that decision pretty early in the year, and so he'd have another year to go play, because he could make some money for sure. And he could also go really help somebody. So that was kind of the idea, get kind of best of both worlds. He's going to come back here and finish at Cincinnati, which was really important to him. And he's either going to be a part of our rotation or he's going to have another year to go try to do that somewhere else. And it's not been easy, because there's times I want to look down the bench and say, go win the game. I mean, that's the truth of it, especially with CJ's Frederick's health up and down, and Connor's foot, and Day was out early, and damn, there's been opportunities, but it never felt like it would have been fair to him to do that for 1 or 2 games and then miss a whole year next year that would be really, really impactful for his life. But he's a Bearcat. He's a captain of our team. I hate that our fans haven't got a chance to really see him play, because what he means to our program is really important. And he means. You talk about emotional. That he'll make me emotional tomorrow for sure. I think of him as high as anybody I've ever coached.
Is Frederick done, or his status, any chance of him playing again?
I don't know. It's a back issue, and backs are finicky, and it's hard for me to say at this point in the year. It's hard for me to say, but if he gets better, he'll play, and if he doesn't, he won't. I mean, we're short amount of time left. As we're about to start the postseason next week, but I really don't have a clear answer there.
It's tough for a guy that old.
That old?
Yeah, it's tough for a guy that old to come back from a back, CJ.
Fortunately, that's never been my issues as an old man.
But Doug McDaniel was really good the first time you played them. The challenge of stopping a guy that's got that kind of, slippery, fast, attacking kind of personality.
He was good the first time we played him, and he's been pretty damn good. A lot of points throughout the conference season. I mean, and I think Day had a really good answer. I think Scott asked a question, I don't know, a couple weeks ago in a press conference about guarding somebody in our league, and Day said everybody's good in our league. Like, we guard a lot of really good players. It'd be the same thing I'd say about Doug. We guard great guards every night. He's another example of that, and certainly with his shiftiness, and he shoots it and creates for others. That he's another guy, but there's a long list of those guys in the Big 12.
How hard is it to prepare for a team as streaky as Kansas State? Because they had 6-game losing streak and then 6-game winning streak to beat Iowa State on the road. Do you kind of have to look at it as each player, or do you look at it as the whole team, and how hard is that?
Yeah, I think you'll hate the answer, Keegan, but I mean, everybody's hard to prepare for, right? And everybody's difficult to prepare for different reasons in this league. I mean, there's not an easy game in the Big 12. That's been proven all year long for anybody. So everybody has different reasons they're difficult to prepare for. Kansas State's are different than Houston's were, but yeah, there's certainly challenges preparing for them, and sometimes figuring out the way that they're going to attack you, or vice versa, because of like maybe Hawkins' injury, or they'll change defenses game to game. Like, I think that's one of the things that they present, but everybody has different challenges, and they certainly have a bunch of them like everybody else.
When you're setting up a game plan, obviously with how fast-paced it is and wanting to maximize your time as much as possible, do you have is there like an outline that you go to? Does it change? Is it fluid game to game? Is there like a set process that you stick with, or is it just a million miles an hour, and you got to change it game to game.
You want to come up and spend a couple days? That'd be a good story. We'll do that one day. We'll let one of you guys spend a couple days going through how we game plan. It does a process. We're process driven, process oriented program, but not to a fault. I mean, I think you have process in place to be organized and consistent, and then you use your judgment and your feel to make adjustments. And yeah, so we're not so addicted to our process that we never adjust or deviate, but we definitely have a process. And at this point in the year, your process of how you prepare for the other team is pretty well entrenched.